Early on in her career, Denise Lee Yohn realized the tremendous power that brands have. She discovered 7 principles about great brands and how they can be built, and she teaches you exactly how to do it in her new book, What Great Brands Do. Her innovative strategy enhances brand identity while boosting profit margins, improving company culture, and creating stronger stakeholder relationships. Denise Lee Yohn is a leading authority on building and positioning exceptional brands. We're thrilled that she was able to sit down with us while speaking at the prestigious Rotman School of Business in Toronto to talk about how her lessons can help us serve differently in pharma. Hi, my name is Jill Donahue. I'm the author of EngageRx, and I'm thrilled to be here today with Denise Lee Yohn, who's the author of What Great Brands Do. Awesome book that I highly recommend you pick up. Denise, thanks so much for taking some time to chat with us today.
I'm so glad to be here.
Downstairs, there'll be people from many industries. And what I'm hoping to zoom in on with our time together is just the pharmaceutical industry. That's where I work. I work with wonderful people who work in pharma. And these people have the potential to impact your life, my life, and our family's lives because they create and market life-changing, life-sustaining medications. Mm-hmm. So I've made it my life's work to help them be patient-focused and profitable at the same time. One of the big challenges that I've seen they've been having lately, as far as a branding issue, and that's what I wanted to talk to you about, is that most pharma companies have realized in about the last 5 years that they need to be patient-focused. They need to include that in their vision and mission. The challenge they're having is moving that from something they say about themselves to something that they do and that guides their work. And when I read your book, I realized that you have some help for us there. So when we look at that, first of all, let's start at the beginning as far as you talk about branding. And I know there are many different definitions for branding as there are people. So what is your definition of branding? And does my thinking that patient centricity fits in there, is that accurate?
Mm-hmm. I define a brand as the bundle of values and attributes that define the value you deliver to customers, or in Pharma's case, patients, yep, and the way that you do business with everyone who's involved with your organization. And so definitely patient centricity and the patient experience is, I would almost say, one and the same with your brand. Okay. And to your point, a brand just can't be something that you say, it really needs to be something that you do.
Good. Okay, so on that note then, what would you advise pharma companies? Right now, they are struggling with that. You know, they'll say, well, we've got Doug as the director of patient centricity. Mm-hmm. And mm-hmm. It seems to be, and Doug's running some projects that are focused on the patient. And it seems to be more project-based than personnel-based. Mm-hmm. So what would you advise mm-hmm, pharma mm-hmm, companies to mm-hmm. do?
Well, in the commercial consumer world, you know, people have so many more tools and so much more access to information about the products and services that they're consuming. And so it is very important for companies to operate in a way that whatever they are promoting, let's say through their marketing or advertising or through their messaging, what they're saying is not an empty promise, that they're actually delivering on their promises. And so in the same way in the pharma world, I would believe that it's very much that you can't just say, you know, something and expect people to believe you. People are much more empowered and equipped to find out, are you really living up to your promises? Are you really doing what you say that the value is that you're creating? And so to think about your brand or your patient experience in a very episodic, transactional way, I think is very limiting, because that's not how patients see it. Patients see their involvement with you as a continuous journey. And if they see cracks in that journey or gaps in that journey, they don't have the same level of trust that they should have in you as a company and you as an organization. And trust is the basis for everything. Right?
I totally agree. Yeah. Sometimes senior leaders will say things like, gosh, we can't afford to be patient-centric anymore. And I'll say to them, I firmly believe that when we're focused on the patient, that's when we'll have our greatest profitability.
Yes.
So what would you want to share with them? What evidence would you say that's true? When we focus on expressing our brand, on being our brand, that's when we're most profitable.
Mm-hmm. I would say that you can't afford not to focus on
Okay.
it, because I think that with the markets changing the way they are, with consumers having more information, having more choice, having more flexibility and knowledge, they have certain levels of expectation, and if you're not meeting that, they have more flexibility now to go to other providers or other companies or other products that do. And so, you may not see the deterioration in your business immediately, but over the long term, I firmly believe that you will. And so, I also agree with you that by focusing on the patient, you will generate the demand and therefore the profitability that you're looking for. But if you start with the profitability, I'm not sure that you're going to get the patient's interest and appeal.
One of the things that you said in your book was talking about the time to do it is when you're doing well.
Yes.
And I think when we're struggling, that's when we start to change. So for the companies out there that aren't doing it yet, get on it.
Yes. A lot of my corporate experience was the Sony Electronics, and for so long Sony had been such a powerful brand, and I'm afraid that we started to kind of take that for granted.
Right.
And then we were kind of blindsided by Apple, who came up with much more innovative, creative, engaging offerings for the customer. And so Sony, if you compare Sony and Apple today, Sony doesn't have as great of a brand as it used to. And so I think I don't want to be like, oh, the sky is falling, or fear, uncertainty, and doubt. Those are not proper motivations, I think. But at the same time, I think you need to be realistic and say, you can't take your success for granted. That your brand needs to be built every day, through every touch point, through every interaction that you have with your patient.
And one of the things that you said in the book was that it needs to be part of your culture. So how do we move it? What advice do you have for us to move it from something that Doug does in the corner office, that's patient centricity, but we're over here on sales, it's separate. How do you bring patient centricity to your culture? What are some ideas of how do we get the people connected to the impact that they can have on the patients?
I'd say maybe there are two directions that you could come at it, and I think both are important. One is from a values perspective. If the leaders of an organization are clear about what they value, and one of their values is investing in the patient experience and really being focused on the patient, there needs to be ways to engage everyone in the organization around those values, and it needs to be part of your recruiting, it needs to be part of your training, your development, your reward and recognition process. So there's definitely kind of the values and strategy part from the top down. But then something that I do with a lot of my clients is identifying touch points between your brand, or in this case, the patient centricity, and the actual customer or your patient. And I help them create this template or this tool called the brand touchpoint wheel that identifies all the different ways that a patient or a customer comes into contact with the brand, and all the different internal departments or groups that impact those touch points.
Okay.
And once you develop this kind of visual representation of those touch points, you start realizing that your patient experience is more than just a drug that you're giving, or more than a doctor's visit or something like that. But it really is, like, as I started from the top, a journey that the customer is going on, and made of all these different touch points that all these different people impact. So it's not just a department, or it's not just the actual provider, but is the entire organization who impacts the perception of your brand.
And what you teach for branding in any industry is that when the people believe in what they're doing, that's when the business will soar. That's when you create a great brand, when everyone in the business gets behind what that brand. And I think in pharma, gosh, it's so easy for us. We change lives.
You're saving lives,
yeah,
right? Yes,
yeah, it's right there.
Yes.
So for us to help our people get in touch with that, it seems we're just so close to that.
Yes, you don't have to work very hard. Some companies I work with, how do you link fast food to a higher purpose?
Yeah.
Whereas in pharma, you are indeed impacting people's lives at the very core. And I think that engaging people, reminding people of that on a daily basis, and connecting what they do, their small piece in that, is so important, but I think very powerfully motivating. motivating as well.
Yeah, that higher purpose or noble purpose, as Lisa Earl McLeod talks about and Jim Stengel talks
Yes.
about. It's so, I'm so excited finding so much in the literature about that, and I think it's so natural for us in pharma, where we really do change lives, to get in touch with that and help our people get in touch with how they're making a difference.
Right, and consumers and patients are looking for that from the
Yeah.
organizations that they do business with now.
You're about to go downstairs to chat with the group. If you could condense it for me, what is just one thing that you hope they walk away with tonight? If they were to leave and learn one thing from you, what is it that you're hoping they'll learn?
Well, I think I go back to kind of where we started, that a brand is not an external image or message to promote, but a brand is really a management tool that you can use internally to fuel, align, and guide everything your organization does. And that shift, just that mental shift, I think can produce very powerful results for an organization.
Yeah, it's like turning that light from shining out and shining it in, right?
Yes.
Right now it's a logo, it's a message we
Yes.
put out there, and bring it in.
Yes, and the great thing is that once you bring it in, eventually it will come out and
Back
you will
out
develop this great
stronger.
brand image and very strong brand equity. Yes.
Beautiful. Well, I love your book. I'm going to put beneath this video a link to the summary that I did of it for actionablebooks.com, and encourage people once again to pick it up, because I had so many lessons that I got from it. So thank you so much for sharing your wisdom with us, and thank you for the time today with us.
Thank you, Jill.